Good evening, dear guests. Tonight we're opening the event, the first event actually, in the framework of the writer's residency program Prishtina Has No River. And tonight we are in Prishtina, and with me is the Montenegrin poetess Barbara Delac. Let me firstly have a short biography. Barbara was born in 1994 in Kotor, and she graduated with a degree in modern contemporary art theory. An award she won in 32nd Festival of Young Poets in Zaječar with her book of poetry Tomorrowland, for which she received the Branko Award in Novi Sad in 2018. Her second collection of poetry, for which we'll talk also tonight, titled Where Are We Tell Me, was published in 2020, last year, and while the Berlin-Stipendium residency awarded by the Academy of Arts in Berlin, the poem with the same name, Where Are We, has its premiere in Berlin through the performative staging in collaboration with a singer-songwriter Sara Renar. Good evening and welcome to Prishtina.
Good evening.
Barbara, tell me how was for you Prishtina these days, more specifically what you didn't like.
What I didn't like?
Yeah.
That's hard first question actually. I didn't like the traffic jams because we were getting everything everywhere by car, so I really didn't like that, and we have the same problem in Kotor during the summer season, so it's really losing the time.
Yeah, good. Let's go a bit back, when you firstly start to scramble words and to start to formulate words. When was the moment when you discovered the poetess in you?
I actually never had the ambition to become a writer. Actually, one American poet, Eileen Miles, wrote it in one of her poems. I thought, well, I will become a poet. What can be more foolish and obscure?
Yeah.
And it's a really nice sad. And maybe around during my studies, I heard about the literary group Forum of Young Writers, and I decided to go to their first meeting, and I became a member. That were 6 years ago actually.
Mm-hmm.
And in that group I first start reading some contemporary poets, and I realize that is the way that I can express myself and talk about the things that are important to me. So I started more reading and more writing. And
what was your initial readings?
I started reading firstly some Montenegrin poets, and we are gathering also these days, and we read each other works, and we are very critical to each other also. We push each other to read more, to rewrite more, and after some time we started also our little library, because you cannot find so many contemporary poets in the bookstore in Montenegro. So then I started reading more poets from the ex-EU countries, and right now I'm also ordering some books in English. And
okay.
So
that's the initial point. Then it became the avalanche, you started to write regularly.
Yes, and then I applied for some contest, and when I won the award in Zaječar, that gave me some, I don't know,
faith.
Yeah, some faith that I should write, and that is actually good, the thing that I'm writing. So
good.
then I published my first book, and that's how I started.
Cool, because I really liked a few pieces I read for in this second book. Where are we? Like, tell me. But I still, it's so like very amorph poetry. What does your poetry question? What does it haunt? Where does your poetry come from?
My poetry is socially engaged, so I'm focusing on exploring the language, but on maybe some global topics as well. Some of my poems question some ecological problems, some of them are more about gender roles, especially on feminism. And in my first book, Tomorrowland, I was more focused on the internet and media and how they present the, let's say,
realities.
Yes, some forms of their reality. And in my second book, I was exploring how the immigration, especially because we are living on Balkan, a lot of young people are going in a search for a better life to some countries like Austria or Germany. So that was my starting point, and then I was also include some other topics that also interest me, like the role of the art today, also capitalism, and so on.
So how personal is your poetry?
Not so much, actually.
Not so much.
Not so much. In my first book, I had more poems that are personal, because it was a hard time while I was writing that book. But I don't like so much to read that personal stuff. It's a little bit emotional, but also in that poems that are more personal and talking about that, but also the literature and some other topics. I'm also trying to do that universe relation, because you know you cannot write only about your life. You need to do that in some literature way that is for everybody. Like, that's the beauty of the poetry. You can read it from from the whole world, and it sounds familiar to you.
Good. Like, let's go back to your writing process. Like, can you describe me, illustrate your writing process? Because you live in Kotor, like a beautiful city by the sea. I mean, how is to be a poet living by the sea? I mean, where does Neruda come somewhere there in the big picture? Because he wrote about that as well.
Yes, but
just to deconstruct the exotic notion of being a poet.
I like living by the sea, but I think it's nothing to do with my writing, actually, because for me it's more productive when I have chance to travel or to be on residency, like the one that brought me here. Then I have chance to think about something new, because my poetry is like you are running through some big group of people, and you can hear the parts of their sentence, the parts of their thoughts, you can see the parts of images. It's more like mix of some collage and a lot of things. I play with the language, and I really enjoy.
Looks like you have hidden microphones in coffee tables, and you take like words from here and there.
To I don't know, articulate the things that bothers me, but from different point of view, and I use humor, irony, and a lot of other things. So my poetry is I don't know, it's more alive then I can't imagine myself sitting by the sea, contemplate, and then write. It's not for me.
Yeah, I think the best style that illustrates your writing is o autorki, which is a poet. I like it so much. It's like a free jazz of like writing and formulating words. Do you think that the poetry has a role, has a goal, has an objective in the 21st century?
I don't know about the goal, but yeah, I think it's mean a lot to us. We wouldn't be here if that's not the case. So I think we find something. Someone said that when you cannot articulate something, but then you read some author who did it, you said, yes, that's exactly what I thought, but I couldn't find that words, I couldn't said something like that. So it's about finding a way to talk about things that are really hard to talk, or it's not explored yet.
Okay,
so.
Cool. Like we'll go back to some other like questions, but let us first have a poetry. I mean, it's upon your selection which one you will read now.
Yeah. Okay. I will start with Smog na više načina. Hokus pokus, puklo mi je pred očima. Još jedan loš trik i konture zgrada su isparile u velikom izdahu nalik nikotinskom. Ali smrt je već ispušila čarsove cigarete. I šta joj preostaje? Dimnjaci bez filtera na kojima ne piše pušenje ubija, jer dimnjaci su lule za velike igrače. Zajebi kartonske kutije, nije su neki prostor za stanovanje. A gdje ima dima, tu ima i vatre. Tompus je ponosan na elitističku nepogodu. Dok smrt želi glorifikacije, a ja fiktivno krivca za korumpirane klimatske faktore koje liju anomalije visokog bezdušnog pritiska, za spring break, vatreno zagrijavanje i neuturističku postsezonu Žižekove ekopokalipse. A šta sa ljudima ispred TV ekrana koji gledaju svoja posla? Lipsaju igrajući vrućih krompirića, stavljaju pivo na podnetač komunističkog manifesta, brčkaju noge u moru i odje za ranu, a nafta, centralno grijanje u gasnim gradskim komorama. Šta je sljedeće? Ko će ući u Guinnessovu knjigu rekorda otporan na aerozagađenje, dok polog pušten sa psihijatrije zamahuje po nebu avionima ostavljajući tragove? Školarce vodimo na izlet u prirodu. I sve je pošlo u 3 lijepe, ljepše, najljepše. Imaćemo Venecije koje nijesu daleko preko. Brčkat ćemo noge u moru i ode za rano, a nafta, nova radna snaga. Granica nema, čitaj kako je napisano no limits na billboardu. Samo da su bar pročitali Aristotela i da ima ko da razdvoji Crveno more. Šećerne vune, slane saune, mašine za suvi led. Ne razumijem prodavanje magle. Na meni je sve suvo i čisto. Vazduh je svjež, miriše na omekšivač sa cvjetnim dizajnom lavande. Lavande dakle ima, dobro je. I dobro je dok na polovima ima leda, jer kako bismo u ostalom pili viski.
Po filloj në përkthimin shqip, smogun në disa mënyra, hokus pokus, mu të rrua para syve, edhe një klithmë dhe konturat të ndërtesave u avulluan. Në frymëmarrjen e madhe si ajo e nikotinës. Por vdekja tashmë i ka thithur cigaret e Charlesit. Dhe që mbetet më ogjaqet pa filtra, ku nuk shkruan duhani vret. Sepse ogjaqet janë qibuk për lojtar të mëdhenj, futja kutive prej kartoni, nuk janë ato hapësira për banim. E ku ka tym, ka edhe flak. Tom Puze është krenar për fatkeqësinë elitiste, ndërsa vdekja pret glorifikim, e unë fajtorin fiktiv. Për faktorët e korruptuar klimatik, të cilët nxjerrin anomali të shtypjes së poshtër të gjakut, për spring breakat, ngrohje zjarrt dhe post-sezonin neuroturistik, ekopokalipsat e Zhizhekut. E çtu bëjmë njerëzve para TV ekraneve që shikojnë punën e vet, ngordhen duke lozur patatet e ngrohta, vën birën mbi mbështetjen e manifestit komunist, lagin këmbët në det, jod për varra e nafta, ngrohje qendrore, në dhomat e gazit të qytetit. E çka tash? Kush do të hyjë në librin e Ginisit? Rezistent ndaj arëndotjes, ndërsa Polloku lëshohet nga psikiatria, u bën me dorë aeroplanëve duke lënë gjurmë. Shkollarët i çojmë në ekskursion në natyrë, dhe krejt ka shkuar në 300, 3000, do t'i kemi Venedik që nuk janë largë, do t'i lagin këmbët në det, jod për varra e nafta, fuqi e re punëtore, kufi nuk ka, lexo se shkruhet, no limits në billboard. Vetëm një dy ta kishin lexuar Aristotelin dhe të kishte kush ta ndante detin e kuq. Pambuk sheqeri, sa unë të njelim ta makina për akull të thatë, nuk për kuptoj shqitjen e mjegullës. Tekun diçka, gjithçka e thatë dhe e pastër. Ajri është i freskët, ka aromën e zbutësit, me dizajn të lavandës. Lavandë pra paska, mirë, dhe mirë derisa ka pole, ka akull, sepse si do të pinim viski. Thank you. Let's start the second block in a row. In fact, like, what creative experiences have influenced you? Which social phenomenons does transition in Balkans? Is transition in Balkans a topic of your poetry?
That is, actually it is, especially in my second book, because the narrator, the young writer, who is coming to Berlin in a search for better life, are also reflecting her past, and it's not only her past, it's also our past, the people who remember what happened some years ago. So I think everywhere in Balkan we have actually very similar stories, and it's something that we should talk. So I tried to explore that topic, especially in that long poem that is same titled as the book. But there are too many questions about that, about our societies, and so.
What I have read few pieces I truly liked. They are so true, and I really want to ask you about those. What has inspired you to write this, to me, poetic prose, like this must be the place, or like home is where I want to be? I mean, to me that was so musical, but also like familiar, like early Rambo Amadeus, let's say. He's so like slam poetry to the bones, but like deconstructing the social phenomena of former Yugoslav societies in a very beautiful way.
Yeah, that is the lyrics from the song of Talking Heads. It's called "This Must Be the Place." So I used that.
So David Byrne, yeah.
I used that lyrics actually because in that point in the poem, the narrator was listening that music, and she thought about so many things. So I did something. It's more like a collage of her thoughts and her memories, and I used some references on pop cultures and a lot of things. That is the most experimental part of the poem. So.
Oh yeah, I really liked it.
You.
But let's return to the point of being a cultural activist, a creative force, or a poet in Balkans. Like, what is to be a young poet in to be a young poet for a living in this transitional Balkans today, like, is it worth of doing arts?
Yes.
A capitalist would ask.
Yes, but yeah, it would be very nice that we can live on writing, and because it's a job, full-time job. So, but that's not possible. But I think that situation is everywhere, especially when the writers are writing poetry, short stories, or essays, or any form that are not so popular, like for example novels. They are struggling. So it's not only here, but I think we should do more cultural exchange. For example, I didn't have a lot of chance to read Albanian authors or some from Kosovo. That two languages somehow don't translate much, and that is pity. And also in ex-Yugoslavian countries who speak the same language but call it differently, you cannot buy the books, for example in Montenegro, or they cannot buy our books in their countries. So I think our borders should be more open for cultural exchange. So that is the thing that we can actually do, and also we need to promote more contemporary authors, because especially in Montenegro and in the school programs they are like still more focusing on modern artists, and that's it, like nothing happened after that. So I think that's a problem.
But tell me more about like independent cultural sector in Montenegro. Like, are there new names? Which are the main challenges of young writers, or in general, like NGOs that deal with culture? Like, how is the funding, and how is, for example, the report between creative force and public libraries, or independent publishing houses and readers? Like, how is the readership in Montenegro in general?
There's so many questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure about NGOs. So I actually tried to form one with my friends. We applied, I think, 3 times, but we didn't get money from the government. So
So
that
government
story,
is the main.
that story ended. I don't know what was the problem back then, but we were also so young. And about the culture scene, there are actually so many young talented people, especially in literature field. You can, for example, I already mentioned the Forum of Young Writers that I'm a member, but also some artists who are living or not living in Montenegro, like Marija Dragnic, Nikola Nikolic, Milo Masonicic, Ilija Đurović. There are so many names.
Good names.
Yes, good names, and they're all so young, like under 35. So that's really great. I think for a couple of years were so quiet, and then in one moment so many young talented people appeared, and I think that is also for a reason, because people started hearing about contemporary poetry, and it became alive again. So we are gathering for example, Forum are gathering for 6 years, so we did a lot of readings, performances, and we are really focused of promoting the readings, because for example in Montenegro you don't have only the readings, you have promotion of the book or discussions and readings, but I think poetry should be read out loud, especially for those poets who are paying more attention on the rhythm, and it's a different experience.
How is the participation in poetry festivals in Montenegro?
We have No, I think we have now 2, but for ages we have only one poetry festival in Bielopolje. It's well known, but they are more focused on older writers, more established ones. They have contest for unpublished authors, so people from I think all the Balkan can apply for it.
So it's international.
Yes, but also we have maybe 2 or 3 more festivals about literature, and I think that's it.
Yeah, cool. Since we like it very much, let's have another round of reading. Please.
I will read another one from my first book, and then I will read from my second. U novom izdanju Discover Your Will. Gradovi su noću proizvod fantazije. Počinje tamo gdje prestajem biti, gdje se kotrljaju svjetla u ritmu tijela. Leptir sam, koji od latica cvijeta pravi novu galaksiju, bijelu i papirjastu kao dah. Imamo sve vrijeme ovog svijeta u času u kojem pravim veliku kućicu za lutke, ucrtavam strunce i srećnu porodicu, kao djeca kod pedagogice pred školu. Prolazim kroz, polarna je noć, oblačim se i liježem. Nastavljam gdje sam stala. U očekivanja sutkali teorije zavjere, velika stvar. Između potopa koji ću slijediti, baš kao što je novi talas zapljusnuo Francusku, kad je bio potreban, poželjan, kao da je dovoljno, jednostavno. Zagonetke su mitologija. U drugom sazvršću jedu sladoleum i misle pozorište u kući. Prostor je sudar vremena i bića. Ogledam se u sjajnim ukrasima i jelki ispod kojih nijesu pokloni. I svi oko mene su superlativi u prvom licu od kojih mi se vrti. Satelit me prati u stopu, kupamo se u znoju. Noć je ista kao prethodna, kao naredna, kao vetrenjače i lale. Neko je sve lijepo dekorisao tamo negdje. Oduvijek sam željela biti vanzemaljka, imati mnogo usta i vitke noge.
Në edicionin e ri, Discover Your Will. Qytetet natën janë produkt fantazie. Nis atje ku pushoj së qeni. Ku rrotullisen dritat në ritmin e trupit. Jam flutur që nga petalit e lulles bën galaksinë e re, të bardh e me pupla sikur fryma. E kemi krejt kohën e botës së re në qastin ku unë mbaroj shtëpizën e madhe për kukulla. Vizatoj djellin dhe familjen e lumtur sikur fëmijët të pedagogja para shkollës. Kaloj pranë nata është polare, vishën dhe shtrihen. Vazhdoj ku kam mbetur, në pritje kanë thurur teori konspirative, punë e madhe. Mes vërshimit që do të vje ashtu si që dalga e re përshkoj Francën, kur ishte e nevojshme, e dëshiruar, thuaj se tani është mjaft e thjesht. Enigmat janë mitologji, në yllësin tjetër, hanë akullore dhe mendojnë teatr në shtëpi. Hapësira është ndeshje e kohës dhe qenjes. Shikoj vete në dekorin shkëlqyes të bredhit. Poshtë të cilit nuk ka dhurata, dhe të gjithë rreth meje janë superlativ në vetën e parë, për të cilëve kam vertigo. Sateliti më përcjell në çdo hap, lahemi në djers. Nata është e njëjtë se më parshmja, si e ardhmja, si mullit e verës dhe vjollcat. Dikush ka stolisur gjithçka bukur, diku atje, gjithmonë kam dashur të jem jashtëtoksore, me shumë gojë dhe këmbë të holla.
Should I read more?
Yes.
Mjesto boravka tuđe priče. Često mijenjam prebivalište. Lovne vještice traje. Neprestano komšije misle da je njihov život radnja za roman. Prvo poglavlje, istorije bolesti od kojih se ne umire. Idem dalje, začitam se i promašim stanicu. Na drugoj stranici ne znam gdje sam stala. Glavna junakinja ne uliva povjerenje. Zemljotres pokreću neusklađene emocije. Do samog kraja ne znam zašto mi se dopada izgnanstvo. Ispovjedanje ne iskupljuje čitaoce, ali god je jezik natopljen sredstvom za brisanje prozora. Ne piše mi se dobro, najbolje biografije su pune fikcije.
Vendbanimi, rrëfimet e të tjerëve. Shpesh ndrej vendbanimin. Gjutja e shtrigave vazhdon. Vazhdimisht fëqinjt mendojnë se jeta e tyre është ngjarje. për roman. Kapitulli I parë I historisë së sëmundjeve nga të cilat nuk vdiset. Vazhdoi tutje. Lexoj dhe ka përcej faqen. Në faqen tjetër nuk di ku ka mbetur. Personazhi kryesor nuk përçon besim. Tërmet shkaktojnë emocionet e papajtuara, që nga fundi nuk e di përse më pëlqen mërgimi. Rrëfimtaria nuk I shpengon lexuesit, por e kënaq gjuhën e lagur, me preparati për fshirjen e xhamave. Punët si ka mirë. Biografit më të mira janë për plot fiksion. Great. I really truly like it. Let's enter in the final block. I mean, how was we were mentioning before your experience in Berlin, where your poetry was somehow converted creatively into a performance with an international artist. How was the experience?
Yes, I planned it at the beginning. When I started writing the poem, I planned it to do the performance with Croatian singer-songwriter Sara Renar. I asked her, she accepted, and we started doing it together. I was sending her all the material that I wrote, and in the same time she composed it. She built the music around it. We also used the recordings from the subway and something that the driver actually are talking while you are driving in the train in the subway. So we use all of that, and in one point we realized that we want also do some videos, and I spent some time in the subway catching a lot of interesting things, and then we montage it, and I'm really satisfied how everything in the end looks. So it was amazing, and at the same time I was at some poetry festival in Berlin, so I heard so many things, and I was really into exploring and into trying something new with this poem, and I tried that the reader have impression that you're driving all the time, and the rhythm of four parts of the poem are also changing. There are block of text, and there are also some completely different small pieces of some parts. So I hope I managed.
Yeah. Tell me, let's come to the present. How COVID have affected your life and the life of artists, poets, playwrights, painters in Montenegro?
Yeah, it's like everywhere. We cannot plan anything. Yeah. Firstly, when the lockdown happened, in that point I couldn't write, and I couldn't write poetry. And then the Academy of Arts in Berlin asked me and German poet Monika Ring to do some conversation about Corona and to speak about that. But we realized there are so many broadcasts about that, and
so many Zooms,
Yes, it was too much. So we decided to talk about time, especially to focus how the time, our perception of time has changed during the pandemic, when everything were closed and time started to, I don't know, going so slow, and we were stuck days by days went through, and we did nothing. Yeah. We were all locked down at our homes. So we talk about that, and we also focus on some topics about time in poetry and some poets, and also going back through the time and forward. It is very interesting conversation, and if somebody is interested can find it online, and it's also in English. So
did the Ministry of Culture in Montenegro delivered or dedicated some specific funds for artists?
No, I actually got the fund from Germany, because I was there couple of months ago, so they were like they want to send some kind of help to the artists who were in Germany and who did some projects there. So it was like very nice of them, but no, in Montenegro, no.
Yeah, it's
some people
same,
didn't have anything
approximately
like that,
same
and
here.
it's probably even worse for some performative artists like actors and singers and so on.
Who would
So
not like organize
yes,
exhibitions
yes,
or
even
things.
our plans with this performance are postponed because of COVID, of course. So we got some invitations from some festivals in some ex-EU countries, but we didn't have chance to go. So
Cool. I'll like wrap up with a question or two. Basically, how is the role of this residency programs for young and established writers to overcome some differences and bring closer the people in Balkans? I mean, we all know like the translation of the works can play a role as well, but also I believe the residency programs can, let's say, speed up and increase the dynamics of
yes, of course.
regional friendship. Let's put it like that.
I can only talk about my residency in Berlin because it's finished. This one, it's not finished yet, so I'm not sure what will I finish here. But in my previous residency, I wouldn't manage to write this poem if I weren't in Berlin. And also I did collaboration with Sara. That is also something new, and I met so many artists there, and I heard some different styles in poetry, and they opened some new doors for me. So I think the collaboration is also very important, and to have a chance to actually follow the art scene in some other country, to see what other artists think of and do. So I think that is really, really important, because it's not the same when you only read the translation of some. You don't have really chance to meet.
Good. Like, what you will do after COVID?
That's
like, how is life gonna be nicer?
I don't know when will be after it.
Yeah.
So that's hard to answer it. But right now I'm more focused on short stories. But I here again started writing poetry. Something it happened to me, so I don't know. I am really into exploring the topic of this year residency Reading Balkans. So I'm starting reading something about that and writing, and we will see.
Barbara, thank you for being with us tonight. It was great. I hope you enjoyed Prishtina.
Yes, thank you very much for everything. And thank you for watching it.
Thank you. Good night.